Buy one. Buy one. Buy one.
Hey, why can't I shoot my gun? Oh yeah, that's right. That's because I made a first-person shooter game where you have 8 shots to infiltrate an alien spaceship and sabotage it from the inside and make it explode. So, follow me to the end of this video and listen to the making of Supercharged Sabotage. So the idea of the game came from a game jam, which I of course failed spectacularly, but I still got a good idea from the theme, and the theme was just the word power. So I went into MS Paint and then sketched out some ideas with the word power, and I eventually landed on a game where you need to constantly be aware of your gun's power and constantly charge it up and keep it powered. So I just drew a little battery gun thingy, and then I just 3D-ified that in Blender. So now's the time to start making the game part of the game. So I went into Unity and I made a project and loaded it up, and I imported my old movement from the other FPS game that I made in the past, and I got some interaction stuff from a Natty Game Dev's tutorial, so definitely check him out. He helped me a lot during while making this game. And after I added all that, then I realized I was using the wrong version of Unity, because I was using the standard boring default Unity 3D version, which works fine if you want to make just a regular 3D game, but if you want to make a cool game with neon lights and flashing lights and stuff like that, then it's not so good. So I had to change it to URP, but that took 4 tries and a day's worth of work, because I opened the wrong project 4 times, and if that's not the perfect start to the story, then I don't know what is, because that's kind of how the rest of it went. But after 4 tries, I finally got it open in URP, so I could just import all the old scripts and start working on making the game further. And the next thing I did was change the current controls to the new Unity controls, which means that I can have it so that you can use a controller and a keyboard for the game. And that's pretty tough, because Unity is new input system, which works great after you implement it, but implementing it takes way too much time and effort. But after we did that, then it's finally kind of working nicely, and it works on both PC and controller. And after that, what we needed to do was add the gun into Unity and then make it shoot some stuff. So I wanted it to shoot bright lasers, so I watched Design and Deploy's YouTube tutorial on how to make a laser sword. So the plan was just to shrink that thing down, and then boom, laser gun. And that sounds like a good plan, so why don't we just do that, you know? Oh, that's not good. Well, diddly darn, that went absolutely horrible. So what happened was that my PC crashed 4 times trying to make it, and yeah, that's just it. I eventually got it, and now it shoots fine. So we're finally done with the gun, but not really, because we need to make the gun cooler. So what I did was I went into JFSXR, which is a website where you can make the little audios for your games or sound effects. So I made a little laser gun shooting sound effect, and I put it into the game, and boom, now the gun is basically almost done. And now what we needed to do was make an alien, but I don't really know how to make anything that's humanoid. So I watched a tutorial on how to make a person, and then just to make it more alien, I just weirded out the proportions, added some little antennas, add some big black shiny eyes, thickened him up, and boom, there we have our alien. And I needed to rig him and animate him, which took a long time, and I'm happy to say that none of that worked because the animations didn't really transfer over to Unity, so I needed to make them all again. But instead of it actually being professional looking, it just kind of deforms the guy into moving where you want him to. So that works fine, and we have some idle animation and a walking animation for the alien, and now we can make some brains for him. So to make the alien like patrol and actually be smart, I made AI by watching Natty Game Dev's tutorial series on like how to make a first person shooter game, but it's all about like AI. And after that, the alien runs around in a circle, and if he sees you, he just starts shooting you. And, that's great. Now our little alien boy, he's got some brains, and he's finally ready to defend himself. But now, me being the nice and kind soul I am, I added even more stuff to make the game even easier. So I made a knife that you can use to deflect the laser shots from the aliens, give yourself a little parry system. And I made it so that you can take away a quarter of your life to get one bullet. And that actually works out pretty nice, and the knife is pretty satisfying. And after that, I added a door and battery. I modeled them in Blender, put them in the game. I made some barrels, and I made the barrel just like shoot and make a giant explosion. And I also made some cool laser shooting VFX by following a tutorial made by Gabriel Aguirre Prod on YouTube. So now we're finally done with the gameplay. So now we need to make some levels to do the gaming in. So I started off by making a hub world and having some little like control pads and a big generator. And I also made a tutorial level which kind of leads into the hub world. And in the tutorial like area, more like that, there's 3 tables. On one of them it's a tutorial like controls and stuff like that. On the other one there's more like the blueprints and what you're supposed to do in the game. And on the third one you got your weapons. After that I put some enemies into the generator area, so now there's the first level. But now I want the batteries, like a battery to spawn after you killed all the enemies, and the battery, it kind of like heals you up a little and it gives you more ammo, like it maxes up your ammo. And you need to deposit the batteries into the generator so that you can slowly like overcharge it and then blow it all up, which is how the game works. Like that's the game. That's what you do. So to make the battery spawn after you've killed all the guys, I needed to make a little box thingy, which is as big as the entire level. And this is like a little level area, I call it. This is a patent pending level areas, and in this box what it does is it detects for all the enemy types inside of it. So it detects if there's enemies in the box, and if there isn't any enemies there, that means I've killed them all, so the level is cleared. So it puts up some text that says like get to the battery and go to the generator, and it also spawns a battery in the specific area. But the thing is, this didn't work for some weird reason. And I still don't really know why it doesn't work. I mean, I searched it up on YouTube, I searched it up on just regular Opera, just the regular browser. I looked for, like, everywhere. I went into Unity documentation, Unity forums. I even asked ChatGPT. Oh, well, and, like, that's the last thing you gotta, that's the Hail Mary right there. And none of them gave me the answer. But after like a day's worth of just straight on my computer, just fixing up little variables, going back into Unity, nothing's changed, so I fix up more variables, going back into Unity, and I've made it worse. But I finally figured it out, and the answer, it still makes me mad, because I don't understand it still. So what I did to fix it was I was originally using a physics.boxcast, and I changed it to an gizmos.overlay sphere that I got from a previous game I'm making, and that seemed to solve it. Like, that solved my issue, and then it works perfectly fine on the first go. And that still doesn't really make sense to me. But I guess just use spheres from now on, because the boxes, they don't do you any good. But after that, we're ready to make some levels, so I picked the most appropriate time to make levels, and that's in math class. So I sketched out some ideas and went home and got on the PC to make some levels. So I made 2 more levels, both of which are a little different, but they turned out pretty well. And to make them even better, I added 2 new things that I put in the levels. One of them is like a little wall run surface, which is just a wall that's ridged with neon lights and a pole on it, so I can like put it high up. Other one's a little gate thingy that you need to slide under. And I actually added a third thing, which was little healing orbs that I just scattered around, like put one of them in each level. And I also just made sure to put a few barrels in the level where there's a lot of enemies so that you can clear them out even easier. And these levels, they worked great, like they were not that laggy. So I made the third one, which was way too ambitious. Like it was basically the size of all the levels combined, which is not what I wanted to do, but it ended up happening. That ended up eating up all of my computer space. So I went to optimize everything. I added occlusion culling, which is a thing that you can do with your cameras, where it just basically removes all the stuff that you don't see. I also made the render distance. I made the render distance lower, and just a lot of other optimizing. And I added baked lighting, which I quickly removed because I don't know how to do baked lighting. And also I got a new PC at this time, or not a new PC, but I got a new GPU, which made things a little better. But I felt like the game was missing something, so I wanted to add more enemies. And the enemy type was just a big buff one, like a brute type of enemy. And he's just the regular alien, but way chunkier. And he has a minigun, and he has a different way that you kill him. And the way you do that is by first cutting him with a knife, because he's invulnerable to all bullets, but his one weakness is knives. And once you hit him with a knife, then he gets stunned, and then you can, just shoot him dead, kinda. But he is just a little hard to get close to because he has a lot of, he has a machine gun, you know? It's difficult. And to make the machine gun, I just used a grenade launcher that I made in a previous game and just changed some of the textures and hope nobody will notice that. After that, it's now time to make the last level, which was basically the same concept as the previous level, but I split it up even further, so basically almost every platform is split up into its own different thing. And it's actually way more optimized than the previous one, which is pretty great. And I made that one even tougher with a lot more enemies and a lot more big guys like that. I think there's 2 big guys at once at one point on that level. And boom, there's the last level done. But even though it is more optimized than the last level, it's still very laggy, which I don't know why it takes so long to load in. Or I didn't know, but I finally figured it out, and it was the wall running surface. Because I made that in Unity Pro Builder, because I was too lazy to make that in actual Blender. But just trust me, you should make almost every model that you can on Blender, because Pro Builder likes to add a bunch of unnecessary vertices, which just completely eat up your entire space on your PC. So I went into Blender, just imported the model into Blender, and just chopped away all those extra verts and put it back in. And now it's running perfectly well, just really smoothly, so that's great. So now we're basically done with the game, and the last things we need to do is polish it up and just add some extra features. So I added a speedrun timer that I forgot to mention. There's a speedrun timer up there. And I made some more sound effects for the knife animation, the alien death noise.
Warp. 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 Meow. Meow.
And the barrel exploding noise. So now that's done, and I added a main menu with the start and settings and quit option. And that was actually the first time I've ever made a settings menu, and it worked out pretty nicely. You can change the volume, you can put it on full screen or off. You can also change the resolution, and you can change the modes to the graphics modes to performance or good. And I also made it so that you can change your camera, your speed of the camera, the camera speed. So now you can change your, your DPI, I think? Oh, camera sensitivity. I made it so you can change your camera sensitivity. And I also put the settings menu in the pause screen of the game. So now it works nicely. And a lot of other just basic visual stuff to make it look better. But now we're ready to finally make the ending cutscene, which is also the first time I've ever made any cutscene of any kind. So there's a lot of first times in the development of this game. And to make it, I used Unity's timeline system, which basically is a system designed for making cutscenes. The cutscene basically goes like you put in the final battery, the generator like overheats, it like flashes red, and the entire ship explodes. Because I couldn't really make a proper ending where you like fly down to Earth, so you sacrifice yourself for the good of humanity, and yeah, that's that's it for the game. Yeah, if you think this was interesting, leave a like button and hit the other buttons. Not the dislike button, but like the subscribe button or the follow button. And yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna be making more game dev or devlogs. I'm making even more games in the future. I'm currently developing one right now, and I'm going to be developing another one right after that. Got a lot of ideas in here. And I'm also streaming on Twitch and YouTube. So yeah, that's about it. See you next time. Next video.